Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. I want to talk for the last couple of minutes tonight, if I could, about the state of our municipal democracy. And I think it is fragmented and fractured, and it's a real issue that we need to really address and pay some attention to. We've talked about turnout in elections, for federal elections going down, provincial elections that I think were 40% or something like that in the last election. In the last municipal election in Mississauga, the turnout was 21%. That's 1 in 5 people that are coming out. 4 in 5 people are voting with their feet, saying, this is irrelevant. Why should I bother coming? And that was on average for the election. For ward councillors, it was even lower. So unless there's a competitive mayor race, it doesn't appear that people are interested in bother coming out. And I think we need to ask the tough questions about why. I was at a debate as part of this Mississauga Mayoralty campaign last night, and one of the questions that the reporters asked me before the session started was, how come I'm not higher in the polls? And I wanted to say, turn around and look at yourself. Look yourself in the mirror, because all they've been doing is paying attention to the existing sitting city councillors. The 4 of them that are running again, one that's retired, but the other 3 that haven't even given up their posts are still calling themselves councillor, are still getting up on stage on a non-stop basis, at city functions and getting far more exposure and attention than the other candidates. And they've got the benefit of organizations. They've got the benefit of name awareness. They got the benefit that they've been sending out regular notifications. One of them is using, maybe 2, but one of them I know for sure is using Liberal Party email lists. I thought parties weren't supposed to be involved in local politics. If the media in Mississauga, other than Saga 960, doesn't exist, and the media in Toronto don't pay any attention to anyone other than the existing city councillors, how can you expect a new voice to ever be heard? When Topka, the town of Port Credit residents organization, or Miranet, the overall Miranet organization, exclude candidates, qualified or not, but exclude candidates from debates arbitrarily, based on, one said we only have room for 6, and then they had only 5. The other one said, well, we based it based on who registered first. But the city councillors can register early because they're not even giving up their position. They're still making money as city councillors. Other people have got to think about, how it's going to impact their job and their salary and their livelihood. And the municipal government sets a deadline for a reason. It's a deadline. But, Miranet or Topka, in their wisdom, decide the deadline should be earlier for their debate. It just doesn't make sense. And, I got to tell you, I've been really impressed with some of the people that have put their names forward that aren't in these 4 existing city councillors. There's a young Muslim lady who is one of the most articulate individuals I've had the privilege of listening to in meeting. And you want to hear what young people are frustrated with and what they need to be told and or listened to get involved in municipal politics? Listen to someone that's put their name forward to become mayor. Another young guy in his 30s, probably, that's a musician, a businessman. He wants to talk about arts and culture and what we can do to ensure that we've got, the heart of the city. We don't bother inviting him to the debate and having him listen up. 2 gentlemen that are efficiency experts that are convinced that we're not being efficient in Mississauga. Let's exclude them so we don't have to hear the truth about what we could do to improve ourselves. Another gentleman that's a pastor and a real estate agent who's passionate about homelessness and food, hunger, and we're excluding him. It just doesn't make sense to me why we do this. So, I challenge the Toronto media. Give some of these other people a little bit of exposure. Give us a little bit of credit. Give us a little bit of time. Listen to the other voices. I had a really interesting conversation with John Tory at one point in time, the former mayor of former mayor of Toronto. And he said, you want to be successful in life? Listen to the unexpected, the unusual voices, and bring them to the table. I think that's a really good idea. Because that's when you get new ideas. That's when you get change. That's when you get innovation. That's where you get dynamism. But no, I don't know whether it's because We just care about the horse race, or we just want to, go with what we've had. We just keep inviting the same people. On Thursday, Metamorphosis, a group that's come out of Fair Share Appeal, announced that Mississauga receives $864 million less per person in total, based on in social services funding from the provincial government, less than the average of other cities in Ontario. And that when you rank the amount of funding we get on a per capita basis, Mississauga, Peel is dead last of urban centers in Ontario. How can you say that the Mississauga politicians, the city councillors that are running to be your leader, have done a good job if that's the result? On, I think it was Tuesday, the Toronto Star released a report about the 10 most livable cities in Ontario. Mississauga was number 10. Ahead of us was Vaughan, Milton, Oakville, and Burlington, our neighboring cities. Why would you be proud of that? I think that, the CBC did a listening thing on Wednesday evening. And I was told by several people that attended that the first question is, what do you like about Mississauga? And people really struggled to think about what they like about Mississauga. You know what? If you've got a great city, people should say, oh, I like this, I like that. They should come right away with things that you want. People were struggling to think about what they were proud of, what they liked about Mississauga. I think we have taxes that are too high and are being misrepresented to you. I think we have affordability crisis that is not being addressed by the current city council. I think we have crime that is out of control. I think we've got a lack of vision for what Mississauga could and should be. And yet the existing city councillors that are going to be same old are the only people that the Toronto media are paying any attention to. And if that's all they pay attention to, as the CBC listening people were said, we hear that there's 20 candidates, but we don't know anything about them. You're not giving people the right to even listen to them. If you think 20% turnout is bad, maybe you should turn around and look at yourself. We've got a failed democracy because we've got too many gatekeepers, to use a famous word in today's political environment. We got too many of the elite in the political elite and in the media elite and in the community elite that only want the elite, the incumbents, to have a voice. They want to keep out all these other voices. And yet, I would have thought that politics and media and community groups are actually about more democracy and including more people. But I think they're actually not. And, the proof is in the proof. See what's happening. I hope to God we don't only have a 20% turnout. And you know what worries me the most? I was involved in a by-election in Ward 5 in 2011. We had like a 25 or something like that turnout, and the person that won with 23%. That means that the person, if that's repeated in the mayor election, you could have someone elected mayor of the third largest city in Ontario, the sixth largest city of Canada, with 5, maybe 10, but probably something in that of the people of Mississauga actually voting for that individual. That's a tragedy. We need to fight a little bit harder for democracy. That's my view. Brian Crombie for the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. I'm on every night at 6 o'clock on 960 AM. You can stream all my episodes at saga960.ca, and all of my past episodes are posted on my website, briancrombie.com. Good night. Thanks. Have a great weekend.